If you want to learn how the MAF sensor operates, recognize its failure symptoms, and understand all related solutions, as well as how to test its proper operation by yourself, I invite you to watch this video in its entirety. In this content, we will focus on a detailed study of this sensor, since it may be the direct cause of the malfunction affecting your vehicle. The MAF sensor, or mass airflow sensor, is responsible for measuring the amount of air entering the intake manifold. Based on this information, the Engine Control Unit, or ECU, calculates and regulates the exact amount of fuel that the fuel injectors must deliver in order to achieve a proper air-fuel mixture. MAF sensor failure symptoms. When the MAF sensor fails, the following symptoms may appear: black smoke from the exhaust, loss of engine power, hesitation or jerking during acceleration, excessive fuel consumption, strong smell of raw fuel, hard starting, slow or poor throttle response, engine may stall unexpectedly. Types of MAF sensors. To perform electrical testing on the MAF sensor, you must know that there are two main types: variable voltage output sensors and frequency signal output sensors. Variable voltage sensors can be tested with a multimeter, or more accurately with a scan tool. Frequency-type sensors can only be properly tested using an oscilloscope or a scan tool with live data. MAF sensor wiring configuration. MAF sensors can have 3, 4, or 5 wires with the following functions: 3-wire sensors, 1 12-volt power supply, 1 signal output, and 1 sensor ground. 4-wire sensors, 1 12-volt power supply, 1 signal output, 1 sensor ground, and 1 5-volt supply for the IAT sensor. 5-wire sensors, 1 12-volt power supply, 1 signal output, 1 sensor ground, 1 5-volt supply for the IAT sensor, and 1 IAT sensor ground. For an accurate diagnosis, it is essential to consult the specific wiring diagram for the vehicle being tested. Only with the wiring diagram can you correctly identify the power supply, ground, and signal terminals of the MAF sensor. Power supply test. To verify the 12-volt power supply, turn the ignition key to the on position and measure the voltage at the corresponding terminal using a multimeter. If no voltage is present, check the fuses, as this circuit is usually fuse protected. If a blown fuse is found, replace it. Ground circuit test. To verify the MAF sensor ground, use a test light. Connect one lead of the test light to battery positive and the other to the sensor ground terminal. If the light illuminates, a good ground connection is present. If the light does not illuminate, the sensor does not have a proper ground and the wiring must be repaired. As a temporary measure, the sensor may be grounded directly to chassis ground. Signal output test. The signal output should be measured as follows: with a multimeter for variable voltage sensors, or with an oscilloscope for frequency-type sensors. For variable voltage sensors, connect one lead of the multimeter to the battery negative terminal, and connect the other lead to the sensor signal wire. With the sensor connected, blow air into the MAF inlet. If the voltage increases, the sensor is operating correctly. If there is no change in voltage, the sensor is faulty and must be replaced. For frequency-type sensors, use an oscilloscope. When air is blown through the sensor or the engine is accelerated, the signal frequency should increase. If no signal is present or no changes are observed, the sensor is defective. MAF sensor contamination. One of the most common MAF sensor failures is the accumulation of dirt or contaminants inside the sensor. To correct this condition, remove the sensor and carefully clean it using MAF sensor cleaner or carburetor cleaner. Avoid using cotton swabs or touching the sensing element, as it is extremely fragile and can be easily damaged. Also, avoid impacts or dropping the sensor, as this may damage the internal sensing element. Additionally, inspect the intake hoses for cracks or vacuum leaks, as these conditions cause incorrect airflow readings. If damaged hoses are found, repair them or replace them. Scan tool diagnosis. The most effective way to verify proper MAF sensor operation is using a scan tool and observing the airflow value in grams per second. As the engine speed and throttle opening increase, the G per S value should also increase, indicating proper sensor operation. If the values do not change or are outside specifications, the sensor must be replaced. To conclude, I invite you to visit my channel where you will learn how to identify the operation, failure symptoms, measurements, and solutions for all the sensors used in your vehicle.